Is it bothering you? Whenever you're ready. Yeah.
Just push the red? Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I could go sure.
That's all the time on the diesel subs. That's all the time on the diesel subs.
I'd like to bring this meeting to order. We'll start with the flag. The flag is in the back. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get started with the agenda, Chief Whitaker has something to say here about being in this building tonight.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to remind you that we are in someone else's house, and we are here to conduct town business, and let's do it in an orderly fashion. There are a lot of times several functions going inside this building, and there's a lot of different people over here. Let's show those people, especially the youth of our town, that we can conduct business in an orderly fashion. We want to run our meetings orderly, no outburst, and it will not be tolerated, period. If someone steps out of order, they will be asked to leave the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And as a reminder, everybody please come through the chair. Whoever wants to speak will get an opportunity, so just be respectful, and everybody who wants to speak can speak. Yes?
Yes. I'd like to ask that on each of the items that we have here is that they can get some dialogue from each of the selectmen as to whether they are for it, opposed, against it, or some dialogue. So that gives us, as voters, some idea as to why they're voting the particular way they are. If I would let, each one of the, would at least a comment whether they have, they have one way or the other, or some type of comment on each one of the items, if I could end up asking that. That would give us a much better idea as to what is on their mind as far as voting for or against that particular item.
Okay.
If you would, please.
The board agreeable to that?
We can try.
Okay. Thank you. First item, discuss sending a letter to Senator Brewer to explore a donation of land at the Templeton Developmental Center should land be available. Senator Brewer has said that he is willing to work aggressively to make this happen. What the piece of land would be for a new elementary school. I got a call from him about a week or so ago expressing that the facility up there will be closing in the next year or two, and that his office would pursue aggressively to seek some land if at that time a tract of land is needed to build an elementary school. So I'll accept the motion to send a letter to Senator Brewer's office to get this process started.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? With discussion. With
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion on the board?
Yes.
Chris?
My question is this just for an elementary school, or could we get land for the other items that we needed?
Well, We only spoke briefly. He specifically talked about the elementary school. I don't see down the road we couldn't approach him on other possibilities too. Perhaps, I think what should be done if we vote to send this letter is call his office and ask that question, and also see if there's that possibility for land and also buildings too. Yes. That went through, same question went through my mind too, so, but he only spoke to me about the elementary schools. It might have to be a future letter about town buildings and so forth. Ken?
Bob, I don't know if you want to wait till the future. I think you might want to do it as soon as you can to get ahead of the game, because what ends up happening is you're going to end up having to go through DCAM.
Correct.
And once you start that process, if you're ahead of the game, you're going to be better off. So
that's
my
why
opinion would be that you do it sooner, not later.
I think we need to have the conversation with Senator Brewer before we do that, because he just specifically said the school. I don't have anything against the town side either. I'm just saying he's going to pursue it for the elementary school right now, but doesn't say we can't down the road pursue the other thing.
And part of the reason why I asked for number 8 to be put on the agenda tonight was because I am exploring the possibility of putting something else up there, and I can do that through the visioning committee, which hasn't met for a long time. 2010, actually, I looked it up. Yeah, but the person that is the representative from the Board of Selectmen is the chairman of that committee, so I would like to be put on that committee tonight. And my intention is to go actively looking for, starting now, going actively looking for whatever. We did have a letter in the file. I went through the whole file we have in the office, which indicates that we asked for first dibs on the property way back when, if it should ever become available. And so we do have that to start with, but I do want to get that committee up and running again so that we can, okay.
Yeah, like I said, this is just to send a letter to Senator Brewer to get the ball rolling. It's all it is. It's nothing about, right now it's not about a school, it's not about town offices or buildings. It's just a permission from vote by the board to send a letter to Senator Brewer, and he'll take it from there. Donnie, do you have something?
Yeah, are there going to be any clients left at the developmental center when they close?
I believe so. I don't know the specifics.
Right now, they're planning on, I think, 4, and correct me if you have other information, 4 residential buildings up there.
There's 3 right now.
3, okay.
We'll be having clients left in them.
Right.
Plus possibly 4 more.
Plus.
Oh, that's what I was getting,
Yeah,
4
yeah,
more than what they were.
That would be 7.
So there will be 7 buildings up there that will be housing residents, but not as part of the Fernald School Corporation, just as housing for them.
Okay, anyone else? Hearing none. Pat?
Yes.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, I didn't see you.
I've heard some answers from some of the selectmen as to, mainly that you're looking at it from an elementary school.
Yes, that's all.
Virginia's saying no, so I take it that she's just looking for the land. Could I have some of the other selectmen talk to that particular issue as to whether they're thinking just elementary or for the town to have it for future use?
I'm thinking of both, Mr. Spring. But however, the purpose of this letter is just to about a tract of land for a school. Okay?
You're specifically going just for the school?
No.
Oh.
This letter is.
Oh,
This letter.
okay.
Anyone else want to comment?
I would like to send not only a letter to Senator Brewer, but our current state rep, Ann Goby, and to the future state rep when they get around to changing the districts. to get both houses the message that Templeton is interested in that property for you know, X, Y, A, B, C, D uses. Hit all camps.
Yeah,
rather than just.
Yeah, we were gonna, we should contact our representative also, get all of the legislative people involved.
I have a concern all of a sudden, because when this came up a week or two ago, I asked if there were going to be any residents left up there, and I was told no, and now I'm being told yes. I probably wouldn't want an elementary school up there if they're going to have halfway houses up there.
Oh, my goodness.
You got a halfway house right next to your school right now.
Almost across the street from the school.
Within,
And you got one on the other, you got somebody.
Hey, let's just, please come to
I'm
the
just,
chair.
he wanted my opinion, I'm giving him my opinion. But, you know, we can look at it. I don't know, you know, you say 7 halfway houses, they may have 1 or 2 people in each one, I don't know. But if there's going to be a lot of people up there, I was told, like I say, 2 meetings or last meeting, that there weren't going to be anybody up there. So that kind of concerns me. I would also, I know the police department's going to need a new place to house a building, possibly the municipal town building, so there's a lot of things we can do if we can get the land.
Anyone else? Pat, you want?
Just, I'm in support of it for the buildings.
Okay.
Yep.
For either or. Pat's been interested in either or. Kurt?
Yeah, you guys recall when the state came in years ago and kind of gave us the news that they were leaning that way? I have to be on that committee.
Right.
And is that the protocol was this: they don't do anything, they're not going to answer to us. I mean, I'm all for sending them a letter to remind them. However, the protocol is, first thing they do once they close it, then they send it out, internal memo to every single state agency, whether it be the Division of Prisons or DCR or you name it. I think there's like 100 agencies that are going to get it. After they respond back as to whether they have any use for the facility at all, and if everybody responds no, then it goes to DECAM for the possible deposition of the property to let it go. And Templeton Parity has a first right of refusal on it because we are the host community. So I'm all for sending the letter, but everything you're talking about was actually told to us, just in case everybody forgot.
Right. Well, I just want to reiterate, Kirk, that it just, he's requesting a letter, and he's going to do, you know, he's going to.
Yeah. I'm just saying that a lot of memory loss is that was told to us.
Sue?
Yeah, the acts of, chapter 59 of the acts of 2009 gave Templeton the right of first refusal before reuse.
Right.
Or sale, which means before they can offer to another department, a prison, or whatever, we get the right of first refusal. Read your chapter 59 of Acts of 2009. That's how I read the acts.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, Stella?
you have to go through DCAM, and you have to go through the facility director, Mrs. Lyons, right there.
That's what.
Otherwise,
That's what
you wouldn't get it.
That's what Senator Brewer is planning to do. To go
He's going to
through.
do that?
Huh?
He's going to do that for us?
Yes, he knows. Yeah, he knows what has to be done.
Okay.
And that's why he just needs this letter to get the ball rolling. It's all it is. Is, you know, whatever's going to happen up there is going to happen. But this is just to get him involved so that he has a letter stating that Templeton wants to pursue a tract of land. I'm going to give somebody else a chance. Yes, yes.
I say send it.
Okay, thank you. We're planning on it. We get 3 votes or 5 votes, we'll send it. Yes, Stella.
The thing is, if you're not going to be first, you're going to have all these other agencies on you. Because I remember when we got stuff from Belchertown and everywhere else, they go by the top of the list.
I think this is the purpose that he's...
That's why you need to do it immediately.
Right, exactly. And I think that's why he contacted us. Julie, I apologize. I didn't see you behind Kenny.
I agree with sending the letter. I think we need to be very cautious. As you mentioned, through DCAM, there will be other departments, other state agencies looking at that land and may get first dibs. What we have to remember as a town, right now, they're self-sufficient. Okay, we don't plow, we do rescue, we do provide water, but for the most part, you're self-sufficient. When these other agencies come in, is this land going to revert to the town and become our responsibility for maintenance? That's one of the things that the visioning committee really needs to be aware of, to protect the town. There are advantages to going up there, there are disadvantages to going up there. And I think a cost analysis needs to be done.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. It is, like I said, it's just to send the letter, and his office is going to handle it from that point. And so, Pete?
Planning board, you got that zone for how many acres? Lots? 5 acres for a lot. When we were back there years back, Callahan with Cape Cod wanted to buy all that land up there for a big development. And we were on the board, and you said to put 5 acre lots, right? So there's a future there for homes. Homes, the building was right, there'd be all homes up there. Callahan would come in from the Cape and put all homes. What are you gonna do? Right? You remember you did that?
Oh, okay, we're gonna take a vote now. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And yes. So we'll just contact Senator Brewer's office to see what he needs in the letter. Okay, action on change order for contract for concrete work for new senior center, seniors oversight committee. Doug and Eileen, thank you for coming tonight. Okay, we got, let's see what we got here. We got an increase in the foundation work.
Yeah, the...
5,150 square feet and additional cost of 10,508. Okay.
Yeah, the reason we're asking for the change order is when we went out to bid, the original bid did include the lower level floor. The contractor that bid failed to recognize that as part of the bid requirement. So he was the only bidder, so we told him, as opposed to going out and rebidding the whole foundation, to submit a change order, because again, he was the only one that submitted the bid. So that's what it is. It's just for the slab on the floor.
Okay. Anyone got any questions? I take it you got the funds to pay for it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
An important point of information is that the contract has not yet been signed, and that is an important procedural point. So we're not amending a contract because it has not yet been signed.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dan?
Just a cautionary comment regarding the procurement laws. You're only allowed to go up a certain percentage. I don't know what the original amount was. You're adding 10,000 to it. Maybe Jeff, Mr. Ritter can...
Yeah, it might be safer just to get a bid from him, rather than an amendment on this contract to simply put out a bid for the floor, which he could bid on, and he could bid 10,500.
Okay.
That's much safer with regard to state.
Since the work though is under the 25,000, do we really need to do the whole bidding process, or should we just go out and get quotes?
If you think that's a fair enough estimate, $10,000 roughly, you should get 3 quotations. If you can, make a reasonable effort to get 3 quotations, and you'd accept the lowest quotation. If you can't get 3 quotes, then just you're certainly entitled to make an effort to get the 3 quotes and accept whatever quote you get.
Okay, yeah, we have no problem.
Okay. Beverly, do you have something?
He is in this economy, he is the only one that turned back. How many people did you send out papers to?
There was roughly about 30 bid packets that went out.
And only one turned back?
For the foundation, yes.
Wow, that's weird.
We only got 1 for the foundation, 1 for the structural steel, and 3 for the modular.
Peace.
Anyone else? Penny?
I just want to say kudos to Eileen and Doug and the whole committee. This has been going on for so long. I even heard 30 years ago. But those poor buildings are just sitting there, and every moment that they sit there, they're sagging more, and I'm just fearful of that. This should have been a no-brainer. It should have been already done and over with there. We should have already been in the buildings. I don't understand why all these things are coming up about, oh no, I didn't, Conservation Committee, oh, I didn't know anything about it. Hello? I mean, what is their problem? Every time we turn around, there's a roadblock here and a roadblock there, and it's just so petty and jealous and ridiculous that we just need to sign things and get on with it. It's already done, the land was given to us, the buildings were given to us, just sign what you gotta sign, get it over and done with so we can start having good programs for everybody, not just the seniors, and we can start conducting business instead of being distracted and fearful that, you know, it's going to be ripped out from underneath us.
Okay, I mean, we are moving forward. There have been a lot of delays, I won't argue that point. We do have the Conservation Commission is complete, we've got their orders of conditions. We're working with the planning board now, we have a public hearing tomorrow. We believe that we'll have everything set with them, time will tell. So once we have the planning board approval, then we're ready to submit the building permit. So we check on the buildings regularly, so even though they've been sitting there exposed now for nearly 2 years, they are still in good condition. There's been no damage related to the weather or vandalism, fortunately.
Okay. Anyone else? Everybody all set? Okay. I guess we're ready to move on that. Anyone want to make a motion?
I thought they were going to get a separate...
Oh,
I thought that's right.
Oh, do the bid.
Well, what's the percentage that you can go up on a...
You can, I believe, 10%.
So that would be 6,000 on the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's over 10%.
Yeah.
All right, so we get 3 quotes. And
all right, so we're going to eliminate the chain door. And we'll go out and get 3 quotes for the floor as a separate
entity.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the current contract that we have then for the foundation is $63,000. We're going to go ahead and get that contract signed.
6514, yeah.
Yeah.
You can sign off on it. 60,514.
Yeah.
They have the contract.
Huh?
They have the contract.
They do?
Yes, they do.
All right.
We already signed that. Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
the
I
first
think.
meeting.
Yeah, as far as I know.
We did sign it.
No, he signs it first, and then we sign it when it
Oh.
comes in. It's out at Strasdur's.
Oh, okay.
All
Mr.
right.
Strasdis has it.
He's got to sign it first. Okay, next item on the agenda, discuss a no obligation feasibility study of shared dispatch services and animal control with the city of Gardner. About a week or so ago, there's Jeff, myself, Virginia, Jeff, and the chief met with the mayor of Gardner and the police chief over there in regard to shared services. And it was preliminary discussion, so I'll let the chief come up here and explain about what's going on and what we're just looking to get permission to. This is just basically information right here.
Okay, we were contacted by the city of Gardner. They're looking to perhaps regionalize our dispatch center. We built some Templeton in Gardner. They're going to build a new facility, and they're looking into building a dispatch center and a regional lock up there. And they want to see if we would be interested in moving our dispatch services over there. We will enter into a study with them to see if it's feasible. We've done a study in the past, and we have not really been compatible. Templeton Dispatch Service does what we call a full-service dispatch, meaning that we dispatch from the Animal Control Office, Light Water Highway. We do it all. They are more of just a 911 answering call service center, so we've never really been compatible. Although they are thinking of changing over to more of what we do. We're just going to look at it. It's not going to cost us anything. There's no obligation. There are a lot of considerations to move. I'm not exactly a supporter of it, but I certainly will look at it. We're also looking at moving in, regionalizing our dog officer. We currently have an agreement with Hubbardston. I'm not so sure how long that's going to last, but they are going to look at our calls for service for our dog officer, and if we can do a regional agreement with them, they would take control of the dog or the ACO services at a price to us, and again, we'll just have to see what the figures are when it came in. We're going to look at the numbers. I'm running the numbers for the guy and the chief now, and we'll see what we can do with it. Any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Anyone on the board have any comments?
This is just a no obligation.
No obligation whatsoever. It's just, we're going to look, see.
Yeah. Yep.
Somebody had their hand up over in the
I just want to
back?
know where the location will be. You guys got together.
For the dispatch center, it would be in Gardner. Physically, it would be in Gardner at their new police station that they're planning to build. It's like 2 years out.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the animal control person, I know we share with Hubbardston now, and it's pretty hard to get her when you need her now. If we're doing this with 3 or 4 towns, are we going to have more than one person there, or are we going to have less?
Gardner runs one full-time person 40 hours a week, and it sounds like they would pick up an assistant. You know, it would fall on them how they're going to handle it, but we would have a lot of input in that.
Okay. Anyone else?
At very least, with the dog officer thing, or the animal control person, we need to reassess, even if we decide to stay here, we need to reassess how much we're getting from the other town, because I believe the percentages are pretty far off. The last I heard, something like they pay 25% of the cost of it, and yet about 35% of the cost is actually from them. So it's a little lopsided right now. We need to get that.
Ms. Wilder, I can address that. As coincidence would have it, at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'll be in Hubbardston meeting with their accountant and town manager to discuss our contract, our relationship, and the point you just made, which is we are currently charging them 25% of our baseline budget for animal control services in Hubbardston, when in fact they're more like, this is a rough estimate, about 40% of the total number of calls. And the 25% does not include, for instance, utilities and all of the food. So we will be down there kicking off the discussion to reassess the relationship and the contract and just see where it comes. I think they're interested from their side as well in taking a look at it. So I'll know a lot more by noon tomorrow.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Beverly?
Jeffrey, what did you think of that meeting you had?
It was an interim meeting, and it was just basically toss numbers around and ideas around. I had talked to the mayor before this meeting about this, because I was looking at it from a budgetary perspective, and the mayor is for doing this, and Chief Erickson, they want to look into it, because if it benefits everybody, it would work out a good idea. But they're going to look out, for their side. They're not going to take something that's not going to be financially good for them. So there is a little check and balance thing there. I personally think it's a good idea to at least look at it. Again, this is no cost to us, no cost to the Gardner taxpayers. It's the big state's keyword right now. They have money in the state budget to do these studies, to form regionalizations, to get the thing started if you were to do it like tomorrow. So I'm for this, moving forward like this. You don't know until you look at it, and it's no cost to either community's taxpayers other than the taxes that you already pay to the state. So,
yeah.
Just one thing I'd like to note is the grant application will be filed jointly between Templeton and Gardner, and it's a 911 grant, and they give us the funding to hire a private consultant to come in and do the study. It's not going to be lopsided one way or the other. It'll be a private vendor that comes in, looks at all the calls for services, and crunches the numbers for us, and they tell us where we're at.
Anyone else? Okay, like I said, it was just for informational purposes.
So we need to vote to go ahead and do it.
We're not going to be involved in the...
Well, I think we should send a letter to the mayor, city council that we're interested in doing this. I believe that was part of the discussion.
At least looking at the feasibility.
All right. Somebody want to make a motion to that effect, to send a letter to the city gardener saying that we're in favor of looking at the, just look at the feasibility study.
So moved.
I hear a second. Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And yes. Set. Okay. Reopen annual town meeting warrant. Discuss and vote the following articles. 1, article to pay the Montezuma Vocational Technical School District Assessment, Fiscal 13, $530,714. Article to appropriate free cash not yet certified by DOR. And article to ask for a Proposition 2.5 override to fund municipal operations and amount to be determined but not exceed $500,000. Jeff, do you want to speak to this?
Sure. I'll speak about the first two anyway. We did receive finally our assessment from the Monty Tech, and it is significantly higher than last year, $53,000 higher. We need to open the warrant to put that specific value in. We didn't have the specific value on the day we closed the warrant, so we just want to open the warrant to put that in. It is council's assessment as well as Mayor Hawk's assessment in Gardner that it is not a negotiable item. This is a mandated assessment for vocational services, and the board may choose to take some action in forms of going forward with a discussion over the summer with the board of Monty Tech. But at this stage, there's little, if anything, the town of Templeton can do other than pay the assessment that's mandated under state law. It's unfortunate because this rather significant increase does require us to cut other items of the budget. So that's the first article. The second article is a standing article. We usually have it on the warrant. We don't have a value that is certified from state government as to our fiscal 11 free cash, but it's around $173,000. That's a very close approximation to what the state DOR is ultimately going to certify to the town. And this second article is merely to use that cash, free cash, from fiscal 11 to assist the town in setting its tax rate, i.e. balancing the budget for the coming year. Now the third article, which is regarding a Proposition 2.5 override, is something that's late-breaking news. The Select Board had considered the idea of an override and had discussed it, I think, informally and with their constituents, and had chosen a couple of weeks ago to not put an article for an override on it. But after discussion with the schools and a discussion amongst the department heads, we want certainly to have the board consider this evening the notion of putting a $500,000 Proposition 2.5 override on the ballot, simply to give the town the choice of supporting the schools and its town operations, because without an override there will be dramatic cuts in town operations and potentially the school as well. So I'd like to invite Chief Whitaker and Superintendent Ruth Miller to come up and talk to us about this.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening.
I like to stand.
Yeah, I do too, but I don't know if the board's going to reach that far. Talk to the crowd and to you. Thank you. I have to make one correction. It's Assistant Superintendent until July 1st, but thank you.
Okay.
We're here tonight, and we've had some conversations with all the departments in the town to have a conversation about what can we all do to try to not have some pretty dramatic cuts in services to not only the town side, but also to the school side. And understanding that the senior center was funded by a debt exclusion of $500,000 in this one fiscal year, we thought that if we did a Proposition 2.5 next year, there would literally be no tax impact to the town residents, because one would be going off the books and another would be coming on. Now, I recognize that the tax rate could potentially go down without the override, and that the override does stay on for years to come. But we have, I know from the school side, we've been struggling the last couple of years because the federal government has reduced the grants and the backfill of money that they've been giving us that was offsetting Chapter 70. And that Chapter 70 we're pretty dependent on as a district, and that's the money that the state gives us to help operate our schools. And it's been getting cut year after year by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think that most of you remember last year, we had $1.6 million shortfall in the district, partly, because of the economic situation. So anyhow, we had to, we closed a school, we had to move some kids around, and we did what we needed to do, respecting the town's wish to not do an override, understanding that both towns literally just could not afford it. So this year, when we did the budget, we did it a little different. We started out by looking at, instead of saying to all the departments, what would you like, and then building a budget that was X number of millions, we looked at what was our revenues. What were our revenues going to be for Narragansett Regional School District? So that's all the money that is due to come into us. And by looking at that, we said, well, given the revenues that come into us, that's what our budget is going to be. We're going to live to that number so that we would be reasonable. We're not, we weren't looking to add anything. So when we did that, we looked at both towns, Templeton and Phillipston, minimum contribution. And that's the amount set, much like the Monty Tech budget, that the state says that you're required to pay us. The minimum contribution for the town of Templeton went up $101,264 this year. So there was an increase in what Templeton needed to pay us to run Narragansett. In addition, because we're a regional school district, you're required to fund transportation, regional transportation. Due to some increases in fuel costs and also our special ed transportation, the actual regional transportation cost line went up $122,840. So those two increases came to $224,104. Those are what the town's obligated to pay. Our revenues went down $285,000 in jobs money that the feds gave us. We don't have that anymore. And our Chapter 71 regional transportation reimbursement went down $119,000. So our revenues went down, but we were living with that, but the actual minimum contribution in regional transportation went up. So that's where the $224,000 increase is coming from. In years past,
I forget what year it was, 2004, 2005, there was an override that you graciously passed for about $750,000 quite a few years ago. And it was slotted to be for education, which in the first year, all of it went to the schools. What happens to override money, though, is this, is that after the first year, it goes to the town, and the town can use that money as it chooses and needs to. It doesn't have to necessarily go to the schools. So what's been happening over the last few years, our Chapter 70, our minimum contribution from Templeton has gone up every single year, I don't know, $50,000, $100,000. It also has an inflation factor of 2%, so it's to provide more funding for the schools. What the town's been doing is to take any increase out of the original override. So your $750,000 override that you voted and gave to the school, and we built programs around that dollar amount over the past few years, has now reduced to, this year, $578,316. So this year we're asking for you not to take this additional $220,000 out of that $513. And the reason we're asking you is this. We made dramatic cuts last year, and this year we've made many more substantial cuts, but what we've tried to do is keep teachers in front of your children and keep the best resource we have, which is the teachers, in every classroom. We can meet this budget, which would mean $224,000 more, by cutting the assistant superintendent, by cutting some secretarial staff, by cutting a school psychologist, by once again cutting all books out of the budget. We have no equipment in the budget, by really keeping our maintenance budget at a very minimum. So we've done the best we can to keep the programs that are really great for kids in front of you, for you, but we need the extra $224,000. If we don't get that money, then we're going to really have to look at laying off more teachers again, and by doing that, we're going to have to combine classes again. And so we got together, the other departments, and said, well, okay, if they could do an override that was equal to what the senior center was, and it didn't make your taxes go up, it could do two things. It could help. My understanding was that the town side was $900,000 short when they started this. That means an awful lot of services to you folks that would have to be cut out. So we could fund your fire department, your police department, and your other departments, and then you could also fund the $224,000. So we're here tonight to ask you to put this on the ballot, to once again ask the voters to see if they can decide if that's the way they want to go. It's kind of saying, before we cut everything, giving people an opportunity, another kind of way out of the same dilemma. And I totally understand that we're still in a very hard fiscal time, but it was kind of a collaborative decision that we came up with. So now it's all yours.
Thank you. Just keep in mind, we're just asking that it get put on the ballot. On the town side of the budget, all department heads have met, and they've been asked to take a 20% budget cut of their present budget, which is devastating for most departments. I know it will be for my department. It means 3 positions in my department after I take everything I can out of it. That's a lot. In 2003, we went through a 28% budget cut. We cut 4 offices, no midnight shift. I'm not threatening anybody. These are the facts. We're asking you to let us go forward. Let us get our figures together. We will show you 2 budgets. We will show you a budget with a 2.5 override passes that does not raise your taxes. We'll show you the level of service you get. And then we will show you the second budget with a 20% budget cut. And we will let you make the choice, and that choice will be made in the ballot box. But please at least give it the chance to go forward to the ballot. There are several departments that if we go through it, a 20% cut, it will simply be eliminated, just to keep your core services going. And that's where we stand with the budget. We will work very closely with the town accountant, the town administrators, and the selectmen, and try to bring the best service forward for the tax dollar that we receive, but we really need this override. And again, it's not going to increase taxes. I think it's an opportunity here for us to bring our budgets in check for the voters. We'll take any questions. Thank you.
Before we take questions, is there any other departments that want to weigh in on this? Sue?
This isn't about my budget. I've already done my 20% cut. And yeah, it's pretty scary across all the departments. I just have to correct. You can't turn around and say this isn't going to increase your taxes, okay? It's going to increase your taxes because you're talking that override we had this year with the senior center. If we take that off, our taxes, that was only 87 cents on the $2.05 increase. Assessments come down, taxes always increase. We always increase them to the levy limit and all that stuff. So yes, the tax, you cannot say our taxes are not going to raise. I mean, talk to Scott, he can explain this all to you. But I mean, I just want to make that clear because the minute everybody votes for the override, and then they get their tax bills next January, and their taxes have gone up, they're going to be, my office and Carol Lee's office is who they're going to be screaming at. I want to make this clear. They still, I mean, $2.05, only 87 cents of that was for the senior center. So they're still going to go up because they go up every year. This is what happens.
And I think we can work with you and Carol Lee and Scott and figure out what the rate is going to be. Do we need the full 500,000? We don't know that yet. That's the number we're using because that's the number that the senior center went for. It may be a lot less. It may not be. And there may be a significant, it was way too early to tell if it will have any effect on the tax rate.
Are there any other department heads that want to speak? I think I saw Bud.
Yeah, I'd just like to say something, backing up what the chief says. If the highway department cuts 20% from our budget, you're going to see some core services drop dramatically. Snow and ice operations in the wintertime, we may be forced to relook at how we treat roads and plow roads. We might be having to drive on snow because there's no money to purchase salt and to pay overtime to do that. I'm not trying to threaten anybody, but the bare facts are we got to pay the help, we got to buy the materials needed to get the job done. Summertime comes, if we have to drive on roads with potholes because we got no money to buy the coal patch or hot top to repair it, that might have to happen. And same with roadside trimming and fixing the catch basins and whatever other core services. Sweeping your streets up, sidewalks, painting crosswalks, just some of those core services that we do. That was part of my question. That's what I say about the highway department. So I hope that you think about that. We've done our best. We've had one budget meeting with all the department heads to see what can we do to already shave a budget that wasn't enough to get us through the year. We've had to cut last year some services out there. So this year coming forward, it doesn't look good. We've got another meeting coming up Wednesday. We're going to meet as a group again and try to put our heads together as department heads and not let the Board of Selectmen dictate to us. We want to kind of come up with a plan and then present it to them for their approval. So this is something new that we haven't done in the past, and this was all kind of streamed through our coordinator. He first brought it up when he came into town about getting together. He saw the vision that we were going to have no money. We're working together to try to get this done and hopefully continue the services that we provide our townspeople with. That was my first question, well, my first statement. I did have a question for Ms. Miller.
Yes.
Within your budget, are there pay increases in your staff considered in this budget?
No, we're currently under contract negotiations.
Are there any plans for increases? Because why I say that, On the other side of the fence, town forces and whatnot, we've been locked down for some time with no raises, and yet the word out there is that the educators have increases in their pay, and they're generally quite an increase.
We just entered negotiations this year. The expectation is that everybody around the table understands the fiscal concerns. But it's a contract and we have to negotiate it. So, but do I anticipate it? I'm sorry. Do I anticipate that? I don't. I mean, it comes down to the bargaining table, and will I, work really hard to be fiscally responsible to the town? Yes, I will, but it's not under any individual's control. But I can tell you that we have heard that from the town, and the union has heard that from the town, and that we obviously will take that into consideration as we talk about moving forward with the teachers. But I can't give you a yes/no answer because it is a contract that's negotiated by a group of people. But we will consider that for sure. I can't, the union president's here, I can't say, no, we're not going to give the teachers any raises. I mean, I just can't, I just can't say that because it's not within my power and control. But as a numbers person, I will carefully look at every item in that budget and every salary increase and be responsible to this town. You didn't like that answer? I'm sorry, I can't say I can't do it. I mean, it's just not, if I could, if it was like my control.
I understand, but it just seems that some of our department heads are making like more than half what's your teachers or your administrators.
I asked her, that's okay.
I understand you're in between a rock and a hard place.
I can't, I mean, there's not I can't say, no, we're not going to give raises. If it was completely under my control, I could say that. It's a contract thing.
But more than likely there'll be increases.
That is absolutely not true. That is absolutely not true. If you look, you can go on the Department of Education website, you can look at all around the state, and you can see the trends that have happened in contract negotiations over the last couple of years, and you will see the trend that doesn't support that statement. I can't really say a lot more than that, though.
Regina?
Yeah, I just brings up maybe a couple of questions, Chair. Now, on this override, can we be guaranteed that this money is going to be going to what it's supposed to and not on other things in this town that it's not supposed? If you put this money into an account, are our heads going to be responsible enough to distribute this the way that it's supposed to be? Because I don't want to, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be voting for something like this, and like this lady had just said over here, having, 200,000 of it go to raises for teachers, when it could be going to the children. Because I know that they're in a contractual, and I know that they're union, and I know they're strong, and they'll get what they want. So that's the first one. Is the money going to go where it needs to go and not towards raises, but towards our children?
Say that for a second. In the current budget that I proposed, I did not put in money for raises. There are not raises in this budget that you're going to, depending, Wednesday night, the school committee will vote yea or nay on this. There is not raises because we haven't settled the contract. So the number that you would be voting on, this $224,000 increase, does not at this point in time include any raises for teachers.
And what happens when the teachers get raises? Where's that money back?
You're making an assumption that they're going to get a raise, and that's not a fair assumption. I don't know.
It's actually not a fallacy. The assumption is loaded assumption, actually. It does come with weight. It is a contract. They are union. Education is very strong. They will get it, or they will strike. Is the money that we're going to vote going to be going to our children, or is it going to go to the pockets of empty pockets, should I say?
It's going to go to keeping teachers.
Virginia's got a response.
So it's going to be going to keeping the teachers where it needs to be. So is that actually what you're voting on?
Can you? Can you let us like answer this for you?
Yeah.
If I understand your question correctly, if the override is successful and the money is there, then you're going to vote on town floor where that's going to go. We can't just take it and say, we're going to put this over here now. It comes up in the budget, distributed in the budget, and you vote, sometimes line by line, about what is going to happen to the money and what's not going to happen to it.
It's going to balance the budget. There's a few more people. I'm going to go to Dan first and then Mr. Spring.
Thank you. With apologies to the chief and assistant vice principal, the Proposition 2.5 is convoluted, and there were some misstatements. The Proposition 2.5 has a number of provisions. One of them is a capital debt exclusion. A capital debt exclusion is targeted for a specific item, and the money has to be spent on that specific item. And the increase in taxes goes away after that item is purchased. A general Proposition 2.5 override is a permanent increase in the tax base. So we are not allowed, we're not permitted by law, to target that money. You can't say we're going to have a general Proposition 2.5 override and spend it on the police or the school, and if we don't raise that money, then the police and the school won't get that money. Can't do that by law. It's goofy, but that's the way it is. Virginia is correct. If it's raised, if the town decides to have a general Proposition 2.5 override, the town decides how that's going to be spent, and they decide every year. There's no such thing as an earmark for the school if they got a specific override back in 2003 or 2004, whatever it was. I think you misstated that the override was for that purpose in the first year, but can be spent for anything in any other year. Even the first year, you can't use it.
That's what it was sold to the voters as.
That's the way it was sold to the voters, and I don't want to sell it to you this way now. Just so you're all aware that there are rules that we have to go by. And it might settle a lot of the questions that you have by understanding the rules. And again, it's kind of convoluted, but to simplify it, a general override is permanent, never goes away. Capital exclusion is temporary, it goes away when it's purchased. Now, I think it would be, personally, I think it would be somewhat a disservice to the people to suggest that if we take a temporary capital debt exclusion that was promised as a temporary debt exclusion, and then use that as a reason to replace that with a permanent Proposition 2.5 override, it's, I think, we may want to go forward with the Proposition 2.5 override, but not because the money happens to be there, because we taxed you once and it's ready to go away. That's my...
Hey, Mr. Spring.
Thank you, Dan.
I think, so the superintendent understands, some of the underlying thing is that it would probably be better to take and state that that money would be used for the school, and tell the union as well is that it would be better for them to take and end up not getting any pay increases versus having to cut people. I think that's really what some of these people are trying to end up impressing upon you. And I talked to the union person also. It's probably better to take and end up having your employees work with this particular budget and get that money so the school can end up continuing, rather than ask for increases at this particular time, which you're going to end up getting townspeople very upset. My other point is this. Earlier on, I looked at that particular item, and that's why I asked earlier if each one of you would end up saying that you were for this or against this, and the reasoning why you would be for this. And I would like each of you to comment on that, if you would.
Yeah, I'm looking to balance the budget. This is one way. It's just an opportunity without losing jobs and services. If we don't get any more money, there's some of the departments are going to be, like Jeff's alluded to, going to be cut drastically, plus services are going to be lost. It's not that whether, personally, whether I'm for or against the 2.5 override. From my perspective, we need, as a town, to balance the budget. And if we don't get this additional money, then, like the chief alluded to, his 20%.
Basically, what I'm hearing you say, you're for the override because we need the money.
That's correct. We need, if we want to offer services and not lose jobs.
Right, so I know what your position is on that. I'd like to hear the rest of the selectmen also.
I actually mentioned this a couple weeks ago to Mr. Ritter and Bob Columbus, and I questioned doing this, and then I was told by some other town employees that this was coming up tonight, before I saw the agenda. Look, next year I'm going to have 4 kids in college. I don't want to pay any more taxes, but this is the time to do it. We need this money so we don't kill our town, our operating expenses for these core services that need to be run. Bud's right, and the chief's right. We can't afford to have the chief cutting 3 officers and losing our overnight service again like we had to do in the past. And, not getting our roads plowed, which means the kids aren't going to be going to school because the roads aren't plowed, which means they go later in June. Believe me, I don't like overrides either, but I think this year and this amount, I think we should do. That's my opinion.
First of all, last Friday, I met with Ruth Miller, and we had an informal conversation.